Hello, everybody, and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. And today, I wanted to take a look at Dark of the Moon? No, this would be, I think, Revenge of the Fallen Powerglide. It's Powerglide from the movieverse, basically. Yeah, funny thing, this figure is actually the very first one I ever made a figure study video for, but I never actually posted that video because it was sort of like a test fire thing and I was just super awkward. And, well, okay, more super awkward than I am now. But yeah, so that footage is long gone, never posted it. But now that I've got my, it's better lighting and a little bit more under my belt in terms of recordings, I figured I'd finally tackle this guy. So, Powerglide. He is a very nice looking, kind of an A10, maybe, but not quite. I don't really know. I'm not really huge into planes, but he looks a lot like an A10, only red instead of green. Although I guess you can paint them in whatever color you want. He is very cool. I've always been kind of a bit of a Powerglide fan, and this guy no exception. I was initially kind of put off, I will admit, because movieverse, but I've kind of really grown to appreciate the aesthetic of the Bayformers, and I do actually really enjoy this. So, his plane mode, there is actually a lot of little details in here that are pretty cool. Like, he's got tons of just little molded in lines for panels and stuff like you would actually see on a plane like this. I mean, not specifically, but you know what I mean. Like, most aircraft would have like these panels all over them. The cockpit looks nice. There's a little bit of the gun there. It's a little bit painted, like slightly darker. Little, you can see some like little paint blotches in there, but it stands out nicely. There's some nice silver on the edges of the wings, which really, really looks good. And I like how they took the Autobot logo and they added the wings to it to make it look like more of an aviation thing. That's pretty cool. And also, I like the silver lines going along the sides here, kind of matching with these lines along the edges of the wings. It looks really good, and I also really like how when you look at them from the front, you get there's a little bit of like the turbines in there actually painted a little bit of a darker color to make them stand out. It's a nice looking plane. It's a little bit weird how you've got his thighs just kind of hanging out here, but there's really not much they could do to hide them. But everything else tucks away very nicely. And like put his flip in his landing gear. And in. And flip you in. And yeah, it all just it does hide very, very nicely. There's not really a whole lot that's like, oh, this is a robot. And I really dig that. And I like that he is mostly, this maroon red color because Powerglide, he's going to be red. But I do also like how they added these little bits of trim around the sides to just kind of, make him pop a little bit more. He's a good looking plane. Let's get his missiles out of here. Probably could have left the missiles off entirely, but we're just going to roll with it. So yeah, he is enjoyable. I'm, for whatever reason, it's just me being weird, I suppose, but these little bits sticking off the wings in the front here kind of bug me a little bit. They just, I don't know, they seem a little weird to me. I imagine they probably make perfect sense in the context of this actual plane, but it's not a huge fan of them. But other than that, yeah, I actually really do dig his plane mode. And when I saw the pictures of him before I got my hands on him myself, I thought that these bits would bother me, but they really don't. He looks very, very good. I would actually go as far as to say I think his alt mode here looks even better than Combiner Wars Powerglide, which I suppose isn't too much of a stretch, but still, it's impressive. So, let's get him into robot mode and take a look at that. Oh, I will say though, before jumping into robot mode, I thought it was very interesting how, at least in terms of this specific figure, this specific Powerglide, the way he transforms, it's almost like he's curling up into the fetal position. Like you've got his head here that tucks in here, you've got his legs here that kind of come up, and it's interesting. I'm not really going to bother trying to interpret what that could possibly mean because I'm sure it doesn't mean anything. But I do think it's actually quite interesting that when he does transform, the actual way his limbs reposition themselves, it's almost like he's curling up into a fetal position. Maybe he's really afraid of flying. I don't know. Anyway, let's get him into robot mode. So, Movieverse Powerglide is a bit interesting. He's sort of evocative of the, classic Powerglide. He's got the giant arm wings. He's got kind of the same basic shape. He's got the redness all over the place. But he also does look pretty distinct in terms of his overall design. Like, he's got the wings on the outside of his arms instead of in the shoulders, but he still has these kind of bulked out shoulders because of the way the fuselage moves up. And it's an interesting look. I mean, I'm not super enthusiastic about his face. I mean, it looks okay. It's, he's still got the faceplate on, which is nice, but he's got that, like, metallic, that wrinkly metallic old man look that a lot of Michael Bay's Transformer faces tend to have, which I'm not a huge fan of. But overall, I do actually think he looks pretty cool. I like how all these little silvery blue elements sort of pop out once he's in robot mode and reveal themselves. You got a little bit of silver on the feet, kind of carries over into the lines here. And of course, you've still got the lines on the side of the wings. Yeah, he looks good. I really like how once he's in his robot mode, how all of the color is broken up. And he looks a bit interesting. He's got these really weird long feet, and it's strange, but it works and it's stable. Yeah, he is a cool looking dude with what looks kind of like high heels, but whatever. I also think it's interesting how with this folding back, how like the front of the plane folds back to reveal the head, how it just kind of hangs there. It almost has this look like it's some kind of a hood or something like that. It's a little bit odd, but again, it works. And I mean, they could have probably had it so that this hinges back further and just have his head out in the open, but it kind of, even this way, it kind of calls to mind classic Powerglide, how he had that like slightly oddly shaped head with the with his relatively normal face tucked inside of it. Here you've got more of a kind of normal shaped head with just like the outer edge of the front of the plane kind of creating that shape. But it works. And again, like I keep saying, I just really like how the color gets broken up in robot mode, where you get to see more of this gray for the arms and thighs. You get this really nice bluish silver. You got the silver on the face. It really breaks him up nicely. And as different as it is, I do actually kind of like how the wings are over his arms. Not that I prefer it, I just like how it looks here. Yeah, he looks pretty cool. And just because I didn't take them out last time, got his missiles that were in his vehicle mode that he just holds there. And he looks like he could kick a fair amount of butt, despite being so tiny. And I do think his hands are a little interesting, if I can get close enough to see this. It's like they're kind of molded to look like fingers, but not quite. It's hard to tell. It's just like, he doesn't quite seem to have regular humanoid hands like a lot of the other Autobots do. Not sure if that's just limitations from the from the toy design, or if that's actually a planned thing. But yeah, he's cool. He's little, but he looks nice, and he's got a really cool shape. His transformation is fun and easy. He's got some great details that reveal themselves once you go into robot mode. He is an all around good time. Not necessarily my favorite Powerglide, but he is very cool. So that has been my look at the, I think, Revenge of the Fallen Powerglide. Either Revenge of the Fallen or Dark of the Moon. I don't know. Uh, I'm sure I'll have the name and the title down there properly set up. I'm just rambling at this point, but that has been my look at him. Thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would be fantastic. And remember, as usual, art is more than meets the eye.